To tonight's Common Council meeting for November 26, 2024. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Nelson.
Here.
Hildebrand. Matsdorf. Here. Penquitz.
Here.
Tauschak.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Binder.
Here.
Gilson.
Here.
Let the record show we have a quorum. Next is the pledge. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion.
I move to approve this consent agenda.
A second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Herman.
Yes.
Matsdorf.
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
Penquitz.
Yes.
Gilson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Tauschak.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 4 is the audience portion where we ask people to sign in and be recognized. That's where you do the talking and we do the listening. No one signed up this evening. We certainly do encourage people to come and talk to the council. Item 5 is not needed. No items were removed from the consent agenda. Moving on to item 6, we do have 3 public hearings, so we're going to do a little bit of gaveling here tonight. I declare a public hearing open for ordinance number 22 and an ordinance amending section 13-1-28 of the City of Plymouth, Wisconsin zoning code regarding high-density multifamily residential district. I'll ask our Administrator Tim Blakesley to give us a brief description. Tim.
Sure. So in March and April 2024, the Common Council adopted a new R6 zoning district that we have now put into place in several locations, including the upcoming Lawn Guard development to the west of Walmart. We did make some minor tweaks to that district in May 2024. Really, with any new zoning district, oftentimes you're going to have to make tweaks as you're working with developers and really trying to fine-tune that district for your community. So we did note that some other communities have made some tweaks regarding minimum square footage size per floors, and to allow some developers some additional flexibility. The idea is to, instead of have a strict 600 square foot per dwelling unit on one floor, make that an average. So for example, a dwelling unit could have an upper floor of 500 square feet and a lower floor of 700 square feet to allow some flexibility there. We then also did include a 500 minimum square foot threshold. We've seen those numbers, 500, 550 square foot minimums throughout the area. There's some communities that have them even smaller. But again, the idea is to provide just some additional flexibility to developers as we kind of fine tune the R6 code. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Since this is a public hearing, Chair will recognize anyone who wants to comment regarding ordinance number 22 as indicated.
Mayor, I would just add that the Plan Commission did unanimously recommend these modifications.
Correct. Thank you. Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. The chair will entertain a motion for adoption of ordinance number 22 as indicated.
I'll move that we approve ordinance number 22.
Second motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Nelson.
Yes.
Penquitz.
Yes.
Matsdorf.
Yes.
Tauschak.
Yes.
Gilson.
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. I declare a public hearing open for ordinance number 23 and ordinance amending section 13-1-192 per ND and repealing section 13-1-193 of the City of Plymouth, Wisconsin zoning code regarding voting on voting code amendments. Tim, will you give us a brief answer on that, please?
Yeah, just a brief summary on this. This is a cleanup item at the state level. In 2023, Wisconsin Act 16 prohibited supermajority requirements for zoning code amendments, except for in a couple specific cases. One is a down zoning amendment and one is an airport protest petition. So essentially, beginning January 1st, 2025, a protest petition can no longer be submitted unless you meet one of those requirements. I worked with Attorney Fieber to draft a code to basically comply with that requirement. So this is basically just a housekeeping item. The Plan Commission did also unanimously recommend this moving forward. Crystal, any other additions to that?
I would add that there are really two areas of our existing code that are affected. We had the language about the protest petition, so that's one area that we're removing from the city code, and the other is that supermajority vote that was unique to our city code. It's not required by state law. The supermajority vote for the council to disagree with the Plan Commission recommendation. So that's the other area where those two areas of the code will no longer have a supermajority vote required.
Thank you. Being a public hearing, the chair will recognize anyone who wants to also address this subject. Seeing none, I declare the public hearing for ordinance number 23 closed. Chair will entertain a motion regarding ordinance number 23.
I'll move approval of ordinance number 23 that amends section 13-1-193 of our zoning code amendment effective January 1st.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Gilson. Nelson.
Yes.
Tauschek.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Matsdorf.
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
Penquitz.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. I declare a public hearing open for ordinance number 24, an ordinance amending section 13-1-104 and repealing section 13-1-105 of the City of Plymouth, Wisconsin zoning code regarding political message signs. Tim,
Yeah, I'll give
brief
a-
summary,
a
please.
Brief summary. So the United States Supreme Court did unanimously invalidate a sign ordinance as a violation of free speech in the Reed v. Town of Gilbert. As a result of this decision, the City of Plymouth must update its zoning code. The state of Wisconsin has not repealed Wisconsin Statute 12-04, which governs political message communications at the state's level, but this statute is now uncertain. So the draft ordinance repeals section 105, which specifically addresses the content of political message signs, which we can no longer do based on the Supreme Court decision. And additionally, this ordinance updates section 104 to allow each resident up to 3 signs during the election campaign period. Per Attorney Fieber, and I can have her chime in, the city can regulate number of signs, total signage size, and display period, provided content is not regulated. So this change does align with the intent, really to balance permitted signage versus the aesthetic quality of the city. Just a note, there is an error in your memo. I do say section 13-1-193 in the Plan Commission recommendation. I intended to reference the current code sections we're talking about here. The Plan Commission did vote on a 6-0 with 1 abstention, recommending this to council. Crystal, anything you'd like to add on this one?
I think Tim summed it up nicely. The main point is that all of the regulation needs to be content neutral. So when we're regulating the number of signs and things like that, those are content neutral regulations. We do provide during the election campaign period. So if someone chooses to display signs that aren't election related, we're not going to regulate that content. But we are saying during this period of time, you can have the 3 signs. And happy to answer any questions about that.
Thank you. Being a public hearing, Chair will recognize anyone who wants to comment on ordinance number 24 as presented. Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed for ordinance number 24. Chair will entertain a motion for ordinance number 24 as presented.
I'll make the motion to approve ordinance 24.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Penquitz.
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
Matsdorf.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Gilson.
No.
Nelson.
Yes.
Tauschek.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 7, ordinance item A, ordinance number 25, an ordinance creating section 12-1-10 of the General Code of Ordinances of the City of Plymouth, Wisconsin, related to Nut Ski Hill park. I'll ask Tim to give us a brief summary on that. Tim?
Sure. So at the meeting on November 12th, the city did enter into that exclusive licensing agreement with Cheese Capital Winter Park LLC. That begins on January 1st, 2025. Currently, they're working to get quotes for construction work, and that work should be occurring relatively soon after the new year begins. However, Nut Hill is currently in our ordinance as a city park, so the license agreement and the park code do have some conflicts. So this draft ordinance creates 12-1-10 of the city code, which basically says in cases of inconsistency between chapter 12 and the license agreement does take precedence. So staff does recommend a motion to approve ordinance number 25.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion on ordinance number 25 so we can discuss.
I move to approve ordinance number 25.
Second is motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Alderman David?
So you're saying that the license agreement takes precedence over ordinance, right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, we were basically creating a new ordinance. Crystal, do you want to clarify?
Sure, and only in the event of an inconsistency. So for example, there's specific sign regulations in the city park, but in the license agreement, we have said to the nonprofit group, you have the ability to put up signage and sponsorships. We have regulations about the shelter rentals. In the license agreement, we have said to the nonprofit group, you will be able to control the shelter rentals. So this code that's proposed for creation clarifies that if there's an inconsistency there, that license agreement is what we're going to look towards. We're not looking to cite anyone who may be in the Nut Ski Hill after park hours technically, because it is a city park. We're going to allow that if they're in compliance with the terms of that license agreement.
So but there's no regulation what those inconsistencies could be, right? I mean, it could be anything we write into it. I mean, there's no limitations on to what those inconsistencies could be. I mean, for example, if we had, not that the council would do that, but if we had something that was a major change that was inconsistent with the rest of the city, does that cause us any issues, cause any precedents? Could it cause us any legal problems down the road?
I'm not sure what you're getting at here. Do you have a specific example?
I wish I did.
Okay.
No, I was just thinking more in the broader terms that when you're asking us to approve exceptions to the rule, right?
Yep.
And with no boundaries around what those exceptions could be, that exception could be anything. And is that too
But
broad?
we already approved the
Yeah.
last ordinance.
So you've already approved the exceptions. The exceptions are what you approved in the license
In
agreement.
the license agreement,
Yep.
right?
Yep. So that's what has already been approved as the exceptions.
Okay. So my question would be, did we do that in error then? Should we have not have done that?
No, I don't think so. What we're trying to do now is provide some clarity, in particular for law enforcement. If there's a complaint, somebody's in the Nut Ski Hill, it's after park hours, get out there. They're gonna look to the license agreement and say, no, this is allowed. The ski hill is allowed to have employees there cleaning up after park hours. So that's one example of where you might find an inconsistency between what the code applies to all the rest of the parks and how we are gonna treat the ski hill differently because of this license agreement.
Okay.
Any other questions? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Gilson,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Tauschak,
Yes.
Herman,
No.
Matsdorf,
Yes.
Binder,
Yes.
Penquist.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Moving on to item 8, resolution. Resolution number 12, declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of bonding. Tim, you want to give us a brief summary on that, please?
Sure. So as part of the 2025 capital improvement plan, the city plans to issue debt for the Mill Pond Dam, Collins Street reconstruction, and the electric storage building. Since these bonds will not be issued prior to these projects commencing, we do need to provide interim financing using our fund balance. So for example, work will begin or has already begun on design, engineering, regulatory filings, et cetera. This resolution is relatively industry standard, and it comes with recommendation of the city's financial advisor, Ellers. This basically approval of this resolution allows us to then use bond proceeds to help reimburse the costs that we're already expending. The anticipated bond closure date is set for May 1st, 2025. we will have an agreement with Ellers at the upcoming council meeting for debt issuance services. Just as a reminder, as part of the success of TID4, the city will see a levy limit adjustment of approximately $340,000 to $370,000 in 2026, which will help mitigate any overall tax levy impact related to these debt issuances over the next 3 years. So staff does recommend approval of resolution number 12, declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of bonding. Happy to
Thank
answer
you.
questions.
Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
I'll move to approve resolution number 12.
I'll second her motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? I have a question, Tim.
Sure.
Has the city done this in past prior bond issues?
Yeah, that's my understanding that it's been a while since we've done a bond issuance, but yes, we have done these resolutions in the past.
Similar to what we've done for other TIF districts and/or bond letting?
Correct. I would say it's industry standard at the organization I was at previously. This is something we did as well.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Clerk will call the roll on resolution number 12.
Penquits,
Yes.
Binder,
Yes.
Matsdorf,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Tauschek,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Gilson.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Moving on to item 9, new business. Discussion and possible action of agreement with Ehlers regarding TID number 8 services. Tim?
Yeah, so at the committee of the whole, obviously, we heard a presentation regarding the exciting improvements to the lock block. So as part of these potential improvements, we are going to investigate the possibility of implementing a new tax increment district to capture that tax increment generated by the improvements that the lock team is looking to make in that area. So these improvements will, for example, as reference, be parking lot improvements, parking lot expansion to really facilitate and enhance the whole project and the downtown overall. So the attached agreement directs Ellers to support staff in evaluating whether establishing a TID is feasible. Does it pass that but-for test? So but for the TID, can this project happen? And is in the best interest of Plymouth? And if feasible, prepare the documents to facilitate creation. The cost of proposal is $14,000. Should a TID be created, those costs will eventually be charged back to the TID, and the general fund will be reimbursed. I would say this $14,000 is really a not-to-exceed amount. Ellers charges basically on a time basis. The cost for TID 7 and the various Vanguard reviews from Ellers came in relatively under budget. So Ellers has done a really nice job and certainly recommend their approval.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Ehlers regarding TID number 8 services.
I'll second.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Matsdorf,
Yes.
Tauschek,
Yes.
Penquits,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Binder,
Yes.
Gilson.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Moving on to item B, discussion and possible action to approve bid from Newman Pools in the amount of $229,283,000 for pool floor rehab. Our Director of Public Works, Kathy Austin, is here. Kathy?
Yeah, so since last meeting with the 2025 capital budget being approved, a lot of these vendors, and kind of the next couple items, right, want to hold our spot, schedule us, do all that, and so we need the council approval to do that. Again, no dollars will be spent here in 2024, all dollars will be expensed in 2025, but it just gets us on the schedule in hopes that weather serves us well and we can get it done prior to the season. And again, this is really just for maintenance of the pool floor, to seal any cracks, to rehab the entire pool floor that was built in 2002 is when they did it, so.
Couple of years ago. Thank you. You can stay right up front because we've got you for the rest of the evening. So, Chair will entertain a motion on the bid from Newman Pools in the amount of $229,283.
Mayor, I'll move that we approve the bid with Newman Pools.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Binder,
Yes.
Pankrowitz,
Yes.
Gilson,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Tauschak,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Matsdorf.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Moving on to item C, discussion and possible action to approve proposal from Hockey Plumbing in the amount of $44,500 for the pool heater replacement. Kathy?
So this would replace the existing 2 heaters that are at the pool. Last summer, we spent a lot of maintenance costs on just getting them up and running. It is state code to heat your water up to a certain degree, otherwise you can't be open. So again, it's kind of the maintenance item. And between the pool heater floor and this, we had $280,000 budgeted in the capital improvement plan, and we are under budget for these 2 items.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion on the proposed Hockey Plumbing pool heater replacement, $44,500.
I move to approve the proposal from Hockey Plumbing for the pool heater replacement in the amount of $44,500.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Tauschak,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Binder,
Yes.
Gilson,
Yes.
Pankrowitz,
Yes.
Matsdorf,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Moving on to item D, discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of asphalt road saver trailer from Sherman Industries Incorporated in the amount of $50,720. Kathy?
So again, as part of the 2025 capital plan, this is an asphalt box that will tow behind, and it'll be able to, when we get the asphalt millings from the county, we'll be able to keep it hot, which allows us to have it more pliable, will allow us to do a little bit bigger patching, and it's helpful to keep it hot.
Thank you.
Sure.
Chair will entertain a motion to purchase the asphalt road saver trailer in the amount of $50,720.
I'll make a, mo-
I'll move that we approve the purchase of the asphalt trailer.
second that motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Nelson,
Yes.
Matsdorf,
Yes.
Pankrowitz,
Yes.
Tauschak,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Gilson,
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Moving on to item E, discussion and possible action on agreement with Kapoor Engineering for design and engineering for 2025 street project. Kathy?
Again, as outlined in the 2025 budget, the road and utility project for next year will be Collins Street. And so the agreement will be with Kapoor to get the survey done before snow falls, hopefully here. And then to do the design in December, early January, so we can be bidding in late January, early February to get the best bids possible for this project.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
I'll make a motion to approve Kapoor Engineering for design and engineering for 2025 street project.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? I would just ask one question. Do we have an approximate cost for their services for that relative to prior?
So, yeah, it's $98,910 is their estimate. Again, it's based on time and material, so if it's less, we pay less.
Okay.
And that does include, I think it's either a $6,000 or a $9,000 historic study with that area of town, just to make sure those historical homes that we're preserving anything that needs to be.
Okay, good.
I have a
Good information.
I have a
Mike?
Kathy, are they going to be replacing the manholes, the sewer the manholes?
In Collins,
Yeah,
most likely, until they do a kind of investigations, I don't know that.
okay.
There's something I should know.
Well, there's some old manholes there.
But most likely then, yes.
Any unknown
Well, they're
secrets?
made out of brick.
So
Oh,
then the
wow.
answer
They
is
leak,
yes,
you know,
we
they
replace
leak.
those.
That's why I'm saying it. You can't? Okay.
Any other comments? Clerk will call the roll for Kapoor to do the engineering and design.
Herman,
Yes.
Binder,
Yes.
Penkwitz,
Yes.
Gilson,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Tauschek,
Yes.
Matsdorf.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Moving on to item F, discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of a street sweeper from Serve You Implement LLC in the amount of $318,976. Kathy,
So we implement.
do we
So
serve we?
Yeah, so we did get 3 different pricings on street sweepers. Again, the street sweeper we have today is our highest maintenance cost every year. The maintenance cost of that machine just keeps going up and up. And so as part of the capital plan, we did budget for a new one. And so the reason they're the lowest is they're the ones willing to give us the most for our existing street sweeper. So no one can match their $59,000 trade-in. So we thought it was a good deal, and we're happy with, we've demoed all 3 of those. And then the Surrey one is the one that would be our pick for our DPW, and they happen to be the low, so.
Good, thank you. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve the purchase of a street sweeper from Surrey Implement.
Second that motion.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? John?
What's the lifespan of a sweeper?
Our last one is only 10 years old.
Oh, yeah. About troubles with it.
Yes, the
Maintenance.
brooms and everything, the hydraulics, yeah, correct. Yeah.
Any other questions? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Nelson,
Yes.
Penkwitz,
Yes.
Matsdorf,
Yes.
Tauschek,
Yes.
Gilson,
Yes.
Binder,
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Moving on to item G, discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of a lawnmower with snow blower attachment from Locken Equipment in the amount of $39,274.04. Kathy?
I know. This is how they work
I was
out.
gonna round it off, except it was printed, so I better not round it off.
And for the last item, this is a lawnmower. Again, our parks lawnmowers are probably one of the most heavy utilized equipment that we have. We make tons of hours on those machines. So they're, and I have an error in my memo, I said trade-in value on the sweeper, but that's it for the lawnmower, right? They'll take our Cub Cadets, and then we're trading in 2 for the price of 1 and getting some new sidewalk snow blowing equipment with that lawnmower, so.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
I'll move approval of the purchase of the lawnmower with the snow blower attachment from Lochen Equipment in the amount of $39,274.04.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Gilson,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Tauschek,
Yes.
Herman,
Yes.
Matsdorf,
Yes.
Binder,
Yes.
Penkwitz.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. Moving on to item 10, this is where we're going to go into